and Judiciary Committee on Thursday, and he gave the Republicans a rebuttal they didn't want. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. According to the Washington Post, Hunter Biden's appearances in front of investigators and members of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committee unfolded a bit like a Bruce Lee movie. Republican legislators and interviewers challenging the president's son on the House majority's behalf would throw out an allegation, often one that's been worn smooth after tumbling around in the right-wing media universe for the past year or two, and Biden would invariably swat it away, stripping off the layers of innuendo that had been applied by Donald Trump and Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, Republican from Kentucky. You remember him, the one who refused and defied the subpoena to appear before the investigating committee for the insurrection that occurred in January. So, or Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, or any of myriad Fox News commentators. This included epic battles against well-known foes, like an exchange between Hunter Biden and Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, or repeated extended back and forth with Representative Matt Gaetz. But at no point was a question left unanswered, including through an invocation of the Fifth Amendment, or to an objective observer left answered with obvious incompletion. The discussion was centered on the Republican effort in the ongoing impeachment inquiry to demonstrate that President Biden had benefited financially from Hunter Biden's business endeavors, and they hoped that Elder Biden had used his position as vice president to that end. They were unsuccessful in making that case from the hearing's first moments. I did not involve my father in my business, Hunter Biden said in his opening comments. Not while I was a practicing lawyer, not in my investments or transactions, domestic or international, not as a board member, and not as an artist, never. His position did not diverge from that at any point. Instead, he frequently invoked the same claim over and over as a means of cutting off one of the familiar lines of inquiry with which he was presented. The effect, in reading a transcript of Wednesday's hours-long interaction, is of a man repeatedly trying to get his accusers to see a forest instead of smattering of trees. Hunter Biden's testimony centered heavily on two themes. First, the closeness of his family, having been drawn together by the tragic deaths of his mother and later his brother. This is why he always took his father's calls, he said, and why he would always welcome his father to join him at dinners. I can't count the number of times my dad stopped to have dinner with me and my family, he testified, including at a cafe that was situated between the White House and the vice presidential residence. The other was that Joe Biden was a career politician. My dad has been a United States Senator since I was 2 years old. Biden said at one point, my whole life has been this. His point, that glad handing strangers and dropping into events and was part of his father's daily life, therefore his own son. At one point, a questioner pressed Biden to admit that there was a suspicious pattern in his father having met people with whom Hunter Biden or his partners ended up doing business. Biden rejected that framing. The pattern I see is that you literally have no evidence whatsoever of any corruption on the part of my father, he said. And therefore, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make every single thing in business that I was ever involved in somehow corrupt. Gaetz, during his lengthy inquisition of Biden, attempted to portray he's got problems of his own. He better be careful, because he may be going to prison soon. Gaetz, during his lengthy inquisition of Biden, attempted to portray several occasions in which Joe Biden called his son during as implicating the president in his son's business. Hunter Biden turned the question around. If my father was to sit down here today and he was to call me right now that I was in and I put him on the speakerphone, does that mean that he had a meeting with you, Mr. Gaetz? He asked. Yep, Gaetz replied. Gaetz later tried to suggest that since Hunter Biden sometimes covered his father's tab, that his and his father's finances were pretty interwoven. Oh man, shut the hell up. God darn. Will the record show that we're all laughing? Biden attorney Abe Lowell interjected. No, our finances aren't interwoven, Hunter Biden said in response. what are interwoven is that we are family. Over and over, interlocutors presented Hunter Biden with the sorts of suspicious tidbits that have been the crux of the Republicans' arguments for months, and over he offered credible responses. Biden was asked, for example, whether he was aware that money he transferred to his uncle James Biden might have been refused by his uncle to repay his loan to his father. This is the most ridiculous thing that I've mean so far, Biden replied. Are you saying to me, do I understand the fungibility of dollars? Do I understand that there is what is, you know what? He noted that the deal at issue was centered on building a liquefied natural gas terminal in Louisiana. That, according to him, would have created 17,000 jobs. Mentioning this had a different purpose, to bolster his credentials and by extension the validity of this having been hired to participate in these agreements in the first place. He fleshed out the specifics of several of them in a similar way, including offering details of his relationship with prospective partners, both close and contentious. Since this article is lengthy, I'll bring you part 2 at some point in time. But for now, I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender, never quit.